Hello YouTube. Y'all know this car is my bull and it's waiting on its transmission, but that is not what we're talking about today. Today we're talking about the suspension. How I got it this low and how I got the fitment perfect where it doesn't rub and where the speedometer is not off. I was going to go over this a while ago, but today I thought it would be the perfect time to do it. So let me get into my office and we'll talk about how I got this car the way it is and what you need to get it done yourself. Now, before I go into any details on parts, procedures, and everything, I want everybody to know that on my particular car, everything from 1996 up to 2007 Ford Tauruses all use the same underpinnings. The only thing different between those years of cars are the bodies and the interior. Everything under them are the same. So when I give you part numbers or whatever parts I used, they all will fit. They will bolt right in. No modifications, no trying to make it fit. Everything that I'm going to give you, information-wise, parts-wise, will fit. As long as you have a 1996 to 2007 Ford Taurus sedan. It will not fit on the station wagons. Now that we got that out of the way, the first thing you need to do in order to lower your car, like mine, is first jack everything up, because these cars are a couple years old already, and they're notorious for having bad suspensions. Jack your vehicle up, check everything. If something needs to be replaced, replace it, because once you put in performance parts, if you have bad parts, it will show. It will make your car drive bad. They might even come apart on you because you have more stress on those worn parts. So first thing first, get under that car, check everything, make sure everything is up to par. If something is worn, if something is questionable, replace it, fix it. Now there's options when it comes to lowering your car. They have an air ride system, which is really expensive. You're looking at maybe up to $2,000, $2,500. I didn't want to spend that kind of money, especially if it's going to be worth more than the car. They also have coilovers, and those are questionable because a lot of them are from eBay, and a lot of them I wouldn't trust quality-wise. So I went with lowering springs. The lowering springs I got are from Australia by a company called King Springs. The only reason I went with them was because all the other lowering spring companies no longer make lowering springs for that particular third or fourth generation Taurus. So I went with that. It's only supposed to lower your car 1 inch. But I noticed on my car, once I put it on, it was lowered 1 inch, but it settled after a couple of months of driving. It settled another 1/2 inch. So I ended up having it lowered 1.5 inches. There's no difficulty in the ride. It doesn't bounce like some people do when they like to try to cut a ring off of the spring, which is stupid. Don't do that. Just buy lowering springs. It'll save you a lot of grief, especially if you're daily driving. So the first thing I did was I put lowering springs. I left a link in the description. They are kind of expensive, but then again, it's cheaper than going the air ride, and it's worth more than just buying cheap coilovers. So get the lowering springs. Quality struts. If, like I said, if you went into your car and you find some stuff that's worn, like the struts, and you got to put new struts in, this is the time to do it. Because you're going to have to take the spring off of the old strut and put on the lowering spring. So a good quality strut. You don't have to have a specific strut for lowered cars because this lowering spring is not that low. So it's not going to damage a stock spring like a lot of springs do. When you get like a lowering spring that's really low, you put it on a stock shock and they blow out the seals. It won't happen in this case because I've been driving this car for almost a couple of years, 4 or 5 years, cross country, lowered. I had no issues with the springs. So good quality struts in the lowering springs. Also, once you lower it, you got to get it aligned. And these cars, you got to buy alignment kits. They're in the description. You'll need a pair for the front and 2 for the back. The reason why you need 2 in the back was you need 1 set to do further your adjustment of the toe, and another set for the camber, in and out, and back and forth for the rear. The front just need the camber so you can get it right so you won't wear your tires out. With that done, you'll have no issues with your tires getting. Now we get to the important part, tires, because a lot of times you get aftermarket tires, and a company will give you tires, the universal tires, universal wheels, and they're not the proper spacing in them. So when you lower them, you have issues with it rubbing against your fender wells or rubbing when you turn left or right. So make sure. In my case, I had 17s and I had 18s on my car, on the lowered car. Make sure that your rim is no wider than 7-inch. So you're looking at an 18 by 7 or 17 by 7. Another thing too, make sure that the back spacing is 40 millimeters positive offset. If you gotta go and if you gotta measure before you buy, measure before you buy, because if you do not get the right offset, you're gonna have issues with rubbing on suspension parts or rubbing on the fender well. So remember, 40 millimeter positive offset. Make sure the rim is no wider than 7 inches, and that should keep you from having any kind of issues with drivability, turning, and whatsoever. It makes for a safer ride. And now tires. See, in my case, I did do a lot of research, find the right kind of tires that are wide enough to fit the rim and have just enough clearance so when the car is lowered, there's no contact with the fender wells or suspension pieces. If you're gonna go with 17s, go with 225 50 R17s. I repeat, go with 225 50 R17s. They'll be the proper height, so it won't throw your speedometer off. It'll be wide enough where it have a nice look inside the car, and when the car is lowered, it will not rub on the inside of the suspension or the fender well. If you want to go with an 18, go with 225 45 R18. Same thing. It's the proper height, so there won't be no rubbing, and the speedometer will be the proper calibration so it doesn't throw it off, and it looks good. That's it. And it can get expensive. I spent a good amount of money going back and forth trying to find what fit. I bought tires that rubbed. I went through about 3 sets of rims that I put them on the car, and because I lowered it, I had issues with it rubbing on the inside or the outside. So after going through about 3 sets of rims, after pulling other stuff out, putting other stuff in, this is what I found that worked. If you go by my measurements, you will not have any issue with your suspension. You should be able to daily drive it. You don't have to worry about damaging anything under the car. You'll be good to go. And that's basically what I wanted to give out today. Remember to like and subscribe. If you have any questions, any more questions dealing with suspension, just leave it in the comments, and I will try to answer them as clear as I can. If you need more help with finding parts, let me know. I can try to see if I can find some for you. So until next video, I'll see you.